government official, Mr. Holmes, he was a superintendent for a long time in Liberia, in Bombing Hills, and then he became senator of Bombing Territory. He was brought into prison one night while we were there with his shoes stuffed in his mouth and tied. And he stayed in that tabby, but he was a strong man. He slept in that tabby, and I'm wondering today why he's still alive. And the next morning they took it up. I think his arm, he still got his arm this way right now. Presently he can't bring it down. And we will have to zip his pants up to pee. We'll have to feed him in prison, help him up in prison. Finding homes. Most of the time he'll tell me, Maria, I have to urinate. I was zipping down. So I started doing the nursing assistant job from home in prison. And I would show the cup to him, he would pee, and I'd try to call somebody to throw it on and zip his pants up. I would feed him in prison. And then one night, they managed to smuggle him out of there. Well, just after they smuggled him, Christmas came, and they said they had to execute 2 people for the initiation. Because that was December 24th for the day they entered into the Ivory Coast for this war. And they are still surviving, so they had to initiate, or they had to sacrifice 2 people. And the only 2 people they could sacrifice were the 2 condemned women. And so one of the boys in the prison compound came and said, Mary, the people won't kill you tonight. This time we can't fight it. He said, but we're going to use the best techniques we know how. And if it doesn't work, well, I will tell you, Mom, whenever I saw her, that you die. He said, we're going to lock the prison compound. We're going to cut all the candles off and all the lights. And we're going to abandon the jailhouse. If they come and they cannot command anybody to open it, then maybe you people will survive. But if they shoot it open, then I know what happened to you. And they left at about 12 midnight. They cut the lights off, and they left. And of course, before we could think, I heard one man, one. That was his name. I don't know his real name. He came, he said, what are the prison guys? Open the door, let's get the condemned people. Oh, we got to make a sacrifice for our invasion. We can't let this day pass. This is the anniversary of our invasion. We have to kill people. And we are not killing anybody but these condemned people. This time we're not having a meeting. I'm coming back. He went and he came back by 2 o'clock. He came back on the hour. And I don't know where these boys were, but, you know, they kept away. And by the grace of God, because nothing stopped him from shooting the jailhouse open. He could have shot the locks open, but he didn't, and I still say the grace of God. And in the morning, he came first thing in the morning, and he said, I hate to use the words, but I'm going to be precise. He said, all these butthole people live, and he left. And then the boys came back to the job, and I prayed for them because I thought they would have gotten in trouble. But they didn't, and then our transfer came. Our transfer came, but we had 2 pastors join us in prison. A Methodist pastor, he's in Cincinnati now, and I think an evangelist, he's also in Cincinnati. They joined us in prison, so we're about 4 condemned people on reconnaissance. Giddings and Molly, those are the 2 names. Giddings is the minister, the Methodist minister, and the evangelist or Molly. And so they put us in a truck and they drove us through Fasama, like I said, and we got to Banga finally 4 o'clock in the morning. And then Molu, by the commander, got out of the car, he took some money out of his pocket and he called whoever was in charge of the Banga prison. And he gave him some money and said, I brought these people to Charles Taylor, so you take care of them until Charles Taylor sees them. Those were his statements. And he got in his truck and he left. And we sat outside for a little while, and then the boy came, his name was Junior. He said, you know, I'm not going to play with reconnaissance people before they kill me. I'll put all of you in jail. And he opened that slot. That place was so slimy and messy from pee and poop. I don't know how the other people were surviving there. We got in there, I'm like, okay. And I met 2 Nigerians. They were journalists. They had been there for I don't know how many months. They were all bones. But the accent sold them up. And we started praying. And I asked him, how did you get in Liberia? He said, we are journalists. And doesn't the international world know that you're here? What good was my question anyway? And we stayed there, and the next morning they opened the prison and let the women out and let the men stay in. And they put us in a little cage, better than the ones we slept in last night. And I started praying. But blessingly for us, Pastor Gidding had married one of Charles Taylor's cousins out. She was a member of his church. And I think the news had traveled because he was a pastor in Banga too, so that was a blessing for us. And his brother came and said, Emmanuel, I thought you were in America. He said, I came to get my little boy from Barbara village. What is the name of Barbara village?
Menjitam.
Huh?
Menjitam.
Menjitam, that's where his son was. He said, but as soon as I crossed border, I was arrested because I had camera in my hand. So he said, I'm going to Agnes Taylor now. And that's how he went to Agnes Taylor and got Agnes Taylor. And she came and she said, call Emmanuel out. And she called the two of them out. I said, what are you doing? And then she noticed the evangelist had been to prison before. And she said, what are you doing here again? He said, at this time I came to escort my pastor. Because the first time he went to jail, he was trying to distribute food at Bowater when he got arrested. And Agnes freed him. Now she sees him in jail again. She said, I'm freeing you this time. You keep away from the soil of Liberia. She said, I promise you that. And they were about to leave, and then the minister said, we have two sisters here that are with us that have been in prison, that we met in prison. And Agnes said to him, tell me their story. And Pastor Giddings said, they can tell you their own story. So she commanded them to let us out, and they let us out, and we both told our stories. And she turned around and she said, if we kill everybody, who are we going to rule when we take over? Those were her statements. And she said, I'm going to let you go anywhere you want to go. And they made this paper pass. And she gave us some money and told us to go. And Emmanuel Giddings said he must leave Liberia that night. And I told him I wasn't traveling with him. I don't blame him though, because he wanted out. But I knew it wasn't safe along the Danane way, so I wasn't venturing. So he went. Just about the time for him to enter Danane, he got rearrested too. They had to bring them all the way back Banga. He said, well, Marie, you were right. I said, I know sometimes I'm wrong, or sometimes I'm right, and we laugh about it. But we went to Dr. Kulu, house. We were there for 4 days. And I sensed there was going to be danger. So I told Gloria, we got to leave and we got to go to an unknown place. Gloria won't believe me because she's tired of running. And we didn't even tell Doc we were leaving. We just up and got in the car. And I went to school in BWI, so I know a lot of people in Kakata. So one of these schoolmates of mine was driving a white van. He made me up and he said, Marie, where are you going? I said, I'm actually finding my way to Monrovia, but stopped me in Kakatan. But I wasn't going to Monrovia. I just didn't want to tell him where I was going because you never trust anybody at that time. So he dropped us to Kakatan parking station from Banga. And then Gloria said, let's take car because we're on our way to bomb mines to haul people. And I said, no, we're not going to take car from here. We're going to walk. I'm trying to be security minded. And we walked and we found our way to bomb mines parking, and we got in the car, and that's how we went to bomb mines. And we found ourselves in a strange home. We couldn't stay. We actually stayed at her parents' house for 2 days, and then Deacon Newver, that's lady husband.
Yeah.
Deacon Newver sent a message to Gloria's father and said, where is Gloria and Mary? He said, they are here. He said, I was in Banga up the hill, and I heard that Charles Taylor and Agnes Taylor making confusion for them to be rearrested. So if Gloria and Mary is in bomb mines, you need to let them find another place to go. So then they had to find somewhere else for us to hide. The statement he gave to Gloria's father was, Chancellor said, these people are on reconnaissance. They brought them over for them to be executed. I heard that you took authority and went and freed them, and I want them rearrested. And she said, go and find them yourself. That's the statement, that's the answer she gave to her husband, her then husband. And then they hit us, and then this morning, my girlfriend came to the parking station looking for a car to see if we can get out of Born Mines and out of Liberia. If we get out of Liberia and Born Mines safely, fine. If we don't, we're just taking the risk. If we don't, fine. But nothing like making an attempt to safety. And then she phoned Dorothy Harvey. And she told Dorothy, Mary and Gloria's here with me. And Dorothy said, I'm on my way to Banga, bring them and let me take them out of Liberia now. So she put us on her little bus. She called that old truck. And as soon as we got in Banga, the car refused to move. Apparently, she wanted to stay there a little while. And, she was trying to help us, but at the same time trying to be with her family. So she found somewhere and kept us there for 4 days. And I kept worrying. I was not at ease. But Gloria was comfortable. And then one day, Dorothy came and said, I got to get your out of here today. She said, because Joe Tate had mentioned that Gloria did not come on reconnaissance, but Marie came on reconnaissance because she has connection with the Mandingo people. So it's true that she came on reconnaissance. So I got to get her out of here today. And I overheard it. And then that night, they put us on a car, and she got in the front, and they drove us out of Banga, out of Liberia, and we entered into Danane safely. And that is my condensed story.